Hello, Annabelle.
Hi, Andrew.
How does this quote relate to the modern world? There is profoundly radical individualism at the heart of Enlightenment thought. Its rationalism led Enlightenment philosophy to enthrone the individuals as the center and creator of meaning, of truth, and even reality. How does this quote relate to the modern world?
I think that individualism doesn't just affect yourself, even though it is doing what you're doing and doing what you want to do. Just affect yourself, even though it's like you're doing what you want to do and expressing yourself how you want to express yourself. But it also affects the outside world, it affects the government, and it affects others.
Are you recording now? Okay. What does optimism mean to you, and how have you been optimistic today?
Well, optimism to me is actually a way of living your life. I think it's a perspective that you take where you believe that positive things are going to happen. And how have I been optimistic today? Well, I like to think I'm always optimistic. I wake up and I plan to have a good day and try to make others feel good about what they're doing and how they're doing it, and continue on my way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, Ryan.
Hey.
What does this quote mean to you? They believed that unassisted human reason, not faith or tradition, was the principal guide to human conduct. Have courage to use your own reason. That is the motto of enlightenment. What in this quote jumps out to you?
So I think they're saying that enlightenment is kind of like being able to use your own human experiences to, like, I don't know, I guess make decisions for yourself and not like listening to other people just doing something because they told you to do it, or relying on them for your own opinion.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
All right, madam, whose name I do not know. Enlightenment sought to reorganize the political, moral, intellectual, and economic worlds to serve individual interests. How do you feel about that?
Well, it's going from, well, the whole idea is going from more of a group mentality to more of a personal mentality. It's less of just following what you're being told and thinking for yourself and using your own reason. And you have to, and it's like not as much of a group focus, more individual focus, and focusing more on the present than what comes after.
Thank you, madam.
Welcome back to the Timeless Podcast, where we interview people all around the world and all around time. Glad you're joining us today. Down to business, we're interviewing Seth Carter. Seth Carter, what is modern thinking to you?
Yeah, I think that modern thinking revolves around our human ideologies that we've created over time. Our different values that people of different time periods have shaped our current view of the world. Many of these values can be seen in our modern times, and or at least their variations and evolutions. They change and interact with each other too.
All right, sorry, we ran out of time for that question.
You didn't tell me there is a time limit?
Oh, of course there's a time limit. Come on, man. What do you think this is? We don't have all day. All right, what do you think about this next quote? Over and over, I have set forth the qualities that the Wendat people ought to believe ought to define humanity: wisdom, reason, equity, etc., and demonstrate that the existence of separate material interests knocks all of these on the head.
Alright, so I believe that this quote emphasizes the core values of the Wendat people that can still be seen today. This quote view of individualism is not to go after your self-interest and instead go after the wisdom and reason and use equity, which is a valid lifestyle and a way of...
All right, that's amazing. Well, we should be moving on to the next question. Now, Seth, what do you think of this next quote? Everything, including political and religious authority, must be subject to critique.
Alright. I believe that this quote is directed toward the political leaders slash rulers who have complete control of everything. Leaders such as the Pope and kings. It's claiming that these high authority figures should be questioned because they're controlling the people even though we are the individuals who should have independence from another.
Well, thank you, Seth, for the wonderful insight. But we really must be moving on to our next segment.
Man, can't even finish a question. Man, I'm tired of this interview.
All right, folks, we're all set for our next interview. The person we're interviewing is a very mysterious man, none other than Jonathan Zhang.
Hello everyone, my name is Jonathan Zhang, or you can call me Jay-Z for short. Thank you for inviting me on this extraordinary day today.
Yes, of course. So, Jonathan, you're here to discuss what individualism and optimism looked like in the past and how they compare to today.
Yes, that is correct.
All right, good. Then let's start. First question: how did optimism affect society back in the day?
That's a great question, Mr. Interviewer, sir. To reference from Candide, about optimism, Pangloss talked about the death of Martin. Arguing that Lisbon Harbor was built expressly so that this Anabaptist should one day drown in it. Candide 13.
Did anybody break away from this idea of optimism?
Good question. In general, most of the population back then were forced to believe in what the church/government said. If you didn't, there would be harsh consequences, so no one was trying to mess with the church. Only a small handful of people successfully broke away.
Interesting. I have this quote that I found the other day in a book that I was reading. Now I'll read this quote aloud. This is one abomination that you could not have anticipated, and I fear it has finally done for me. I am going to give up on your optimism after all. That's from Candide. Could you give us a description of what this quote means?
Sure thing. I can see why this quote jumps out at you. In this quote, Candide decides to not believe in optimism anymore. Optimism explains that everything is going just fine, but actually, nothing is at all well. Candide says this after he meets the poor man with one of his legs/arms chopped off.
Well said. I find it interesting that Candide has always believed in what Pangloss said, but realizes that Pangloss was wrong the whole time. Here's my last question. Now that we know what optimism is, do you think optimism would work in the present?
In my opinion, I think optimism would not work in our world today. If everyone were to believe in optimism, then people today wouldn't try to improve their lives. Instead, people should work on improving and don't stop believing.
Thank you for sharing your insight on this topic for us.
You're welcome.
In this interview, we'll be hearing from two people, Seth from earlier and Andrew Yanero.
It's not Andrew, it's Candide.
Sorry, I've just learned that Candide will be joining us, not Andrew. So, Mr. Candide, what are your thoughts on individualism?
Well, as you know, I was not always the most individualistic person. He combined solid judgment with complete openness of mind, which is the reason I believe that he was called Candide. Quite truthfully, I was very easily influenced individual. I was even seduced by Mademoiselle Cunningham before I was kicked out of the castle for trying experimental physics lessons with her. She bade me good day in a faltering voice, and I answered without knowing what I was saying, so I was completely unaware of the whole ordeal.
Have you had any other experiences that have influenced your view on individualism?
Yes, actually, it's happened that I tried to jump in after him, but Pangloss the philosopher, it prevented me. I could have attempted to prevent that man's death if I hadn't listened to Pangloss, but I let my lack of individuality allow myself to follow along with what Pangloss said.
With all of your experiences, what would you say your outlook on individualism is?
I believe that individuality is an important topic, and I support it fully. Just from my own experience, I believe that if I had been more individualistic, I could have prevented more situations where I've been exploited.
You make a good point. Individualism isn't a former concept, and it is still present today. Oh, Seth.
Want a break from the ads?
This is some good table. I mean, pineapple pizza, which everyone should put pineapples on their pizza.
Hello, Mr. Seth. What do you think you're doing here?
Man, I'm sitting here enjoying my pineapples on pizza like everyone should.
Wait, what did you just say?
I said everyone should enjoy pineapples on pizza.
I got a problem with that. Because I think pineapple shouldn't be on pizza.
Oh, Rich, you don't have a problem?
Yeah. Stay out of this, huh? Let's go, boy. Man up. Let's go.
Let's go. Right now.
Let's go.
Hello and welcome to the final segment of our podcast where I summarize everything that has happened. So far, we've interviewed Seth, who spoke to us about individualism and modern thinking. We've also spoke with Jonathan, who talked about optimism and its effects on individualism in the past and how, if at all, it could work in modern times. We also spoke with Candide, about his life and how he would have lived it differently if he was more individualistic. Thank you for coming today to the Timeless Podcast. And before you leave, think about this quote. It neither picks my pocket nor breaks my leg.